Welcome to the summit. Can you tell us your name and where you work and which is your department, first of all?
I'm Alistair Thompson and I work for the National Institute of Adult Continuing Education.
So are you enjoying the summit so far?
I'm finding the summit absolutely invaluable because of the mixture it gives of national level speakers and grassroots practice.
Is it addressing what you see as the current issues in access and widening participation?
I think it would need to be perhaps a residential conference to address all the issues there are, but it's certainly exposing most of the new emerging issues. I think there is a new agenda for access, and this conference is at the cutting edge.
Right. So for you, what's the big issue?
For me, the big issue is the decline in the number of part-time and mature students in higher education and trying to redress that balance.
Okay, so it's like keeping them on, basically.
Recovering numbers to where they were.
Brilliant, okay. I think that's all we need. Brilliant.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So, can you tell me your name, where you work and what you do?
My name's Hannah Steele. I'm Educational Projects Coordinator for the Brightside Trust. We work in partnership with universities delivering mentoring programmes for students.
Great. So you're enjoying this summit?
Yes, yeah, it's been great so far. Lots of really interesting people.
Good.
Good kind of diverse bunch. It's been brilliant.
Any points that have been raised that you think, yeah, that's a particularly good one? And
I think it's been interesting to talk about the issues around student retention and student success. So kind of after you get the student into university, tackling the issues around making sure that they're supported while they're there, that they're happy that they're receiving everything they need and that they actually stay the course and complete the course to the best of their ability.
Yeah, that's good. So that's kind of answered that question. Do you think it's addressing the current issues in access and widening?
Yeah, I think it's really, the discussion groups have been great. They're encouraging a lot of debate, which is something that doesn't always happen at conferences. So a lot of issues have been raised, again around student experience, but around policy changes, fee changes, and it's been very student-centred, which I think is important. So there's been a lot of talk about yeah, exactly.
So for you personally, what's the big issue? What is the big issue?
I think personally, looking at making sure that students are, once they've actually got that place at university, retention is very important to me and to what we do at Brightside as well. And it really is about the whole package. So we don't want to see students achieving the place at university and then that gap in attainment that we see widening. We want to make sure that students are supported, both by the institution themselves and by the other students that are there, you know, through peer mentoring and similar initiatives.
Brilliant. Would you like to talk about what professionally delights you or what dismays you?
I'm very lucky in my role that I get to do a lot of training face-to-face with students, so I have a lot of contact time with them, with both sixth form students looking at university, but also with current undergraduates helping us with our projects. So I'm quite lucky in the fact that I get to ask them their opinions on things and hopefully make an effort to make sure that their opinions are taken into account in what we do.
Okay, brilliant. So is there anything else you want to add to that? Or,
just that it's been a really interesting conference. I've really enjoyed the amount of debate that's been going on, lots of interesting things. And
it'll carry on?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, okay. I'm looking forward to the rest of it.
Brilliant. Well, enjoy the rest of the summit.
Thank you
very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, can you tell us your name and where you work and what you do?
Sure, my name's Dr. Steve Lake. I'm the head of student recruitment at Southampton Solent University.
Thank you. So are you enjoying the summit?
I'm very much enjoying the summit, yes. I think this must be the fourth or fifth in a row I've been to. They're always interesting, the speakers are always good, so yeah, it's good. And it's good meeting up with colleagues. Very often I don't see them except perhaps at events like this.
Right, good networking.
Yeah, excellent.
So what do you like about it so far?
I think I've just come from a discussion session, and actually I think one of the things about these sorts of events is hearing the experience of colleagues from around the sector and discussing common issues, and I've really enjoyed that, and the conversations are carrying on over lunch, so you know when it's been a good session when the session sort of spills over into the lunch period as well. But no, I think we're facing a lot of challenges in the sector around the access agenda, and I think it helps all of us to get together to talk through the ideas that we might have, but also kind of support each other really in terms of understanding how various problems affect us in different ways.
Is it addressing what you see as the current issues in access and widening participation?
Yeah, I think it is addressing the right issues. I think it's a great shame that Les Ebden couldn't say a bit more this morning about the SASS, but I understand his position in that respect. But no, I think the key issues really for institutions with the access agenda is what's happening with the funding, and that's kind of, I think that underlies everything that we're talking about at the moment in terms of understanding really what's going to happen. Obviously, I think the big question is what happens next with the Student Opportunity Fund, and in a sense we're kind of waiting, I think, probably for an axe to fall in that respect. But actually, we're in that condition of uncertainty, so it's a good time in many ways for us to get together and talk about, okay, let's face what the implications of that might be, and how we work together to make sure that the agenda still succeeds.
Okay. Brilliant. Is there anything you want to talk about regarding your job and how the highs and lows of that?
Yeah, I have an interesting role. It's interesting. I've just been involved in one of the workshops where I talked about the fact that I started out as a working class kid who went to university, got a doctorate, ended up as a lecturer, then got seduced into being the Widening Participation Manager. Now then ended up as head of UK recruitment and WP, and now I'm head of all recruitment, including international and WP. And that's an interesting journey to have been on. And in a sense, I think it's, for me, as much as I've kind of faced new challenges and so on, I think the core of it for me has always been the value of higher education to individuals and what it does to transform people's lives, which I know Les said earlier as well. I think, sometimes we think, oh, well, yeah, that's a bit glib, but actually it isn't. It's the reason I got involved in this sort of stuff, and it's what keeps me going.
Brilliant. So we'll see you back here next year, will we?
Oh, absolutely, yes, I hope so.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a really good opportunity, I think, to come across and to meet face to face with colleagues that I would talk to on the phone over the year, and then just share some ideas and on where we're going. And I think the four regions are in some ways we're taking divergent paths, but the issues are all still the same. So we still struggle with the same issues, and it's always good to learn from colleagues about what they're doing. So yeah, it's good.
So, I suppose to ask what you like about it so far. Is there anything that's come up that's...
Well, I think it was this morning was very useful. I think those the sort of the big sessions, in the main room, is quite useful to hear what the big issues are over here and what direction people are taking. We wrote our own strategy, and we're now in the process of implementing a new widening participation strategy in Northern Ireland, and that kind of puts us maybe sort of 12 months ahead of what's happening here, and so it's useful for us to just catch up to see what people are doing, and it's almost like reassuring ourselves that we're on the right road.
That's good.
So that has been very valuable. Yeah.
So do you think we are addressing these current issues regarding widening access?
I think we are addressing the issues, and the issues themselves don't actually change, but I think it's important that we refresh what we're doing, from year to year, to make sure that there aren't pockets that we've missed or cold spots that we haven't fully identified, and then it's just that whole idea of refreshing our strategies and taking a new look at things. We're doing a lot of the things that Les was indicating this morning, the bringing together of the access agreements and the strategic assessment in order to refocus our sort of efforts on a broader scale. So we're doing that as well, and that kind of annual renewal, I think, is very useful.
Great. So what is the big issue? You probably...
Well, there are a lot of issues. I think some of the key ones at the moment is the whole issue of student retention. I think to a large extent we can, although we've still got some way to go, we have made a lot of progress on who's going to higher education. We've made a lot of progress in widening and increasing participation, and now I think we need to be looking at some of the kind of niche areas. So if we're getting people into education, that's terrific, but are we actually producing graduates out the other side, or do we still have a big disparity in terms of who's actually graduating? Then there's the whole issue of the part-time student and the mature student. How are we handling that? In fact, at a time when we're reducing, we see a reduction in the number of 18-year-olds, then we think about, well, mature students, that's a big area. Part-time's a big area, and yet the indicators are that part-time students, part-time numbers are dropping. So, I think we need to identify what the issues are there. Is it just the recession, or is it a combination of recession and fees? We didn't increase our fees in Northern Ireland, and yet we're seeing the same drop. So it can't just be about fees. There's obviously other factors at play in this as well. So, there's a wide range of issues, but I'd say, those are probably some of the bigger ones that we're addressing.
Okay, brilliant. So, just wrapping up, is there anything you want to add to what you said already?
No, not really. I think I think we have. The one thing we always have to be careful, and one of the reasons why I'm very keen to come to conferences like this is, although we have published our strategy in the middle of 2012, and we're that little bit ahead in implementation, England, Scotland and Wales is such a big influence on us. It's a big gravity on us, and if they wobble in their orbit, we're all over the place. So we need to keep abreast of what's happening over here and make sure that our universities are aligned and not disadvantaged in any way by anything I might be doing. So again, I come from my annual reassurance that we're on the right track.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for that. Hopefully we'll see you back here next year. Maybe.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Thank
you very much.
So can you tell me your name, where you work and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Eric. My name is Eric Arroy, and I'm the chairperson of the Swedish National Union of Students since 1.5 years back.
Okay, brilliant. So, are you enjoying the summit so far?
I really am. It's very inspiring to come and visit and attend this summit because when it comes to issues of widening participation and access to higher education, I don't know if one would think that those issues are practically dead as political issues in Sweden, which is of course disturbing to us, and we've been advocating them since many years back.
Right, so the issues are being addressed in this conference today about widening participation. You think they're covering all the areas?
Yes, they are, absolutely, and in a way that we rarely see in Sweden. So it's really inspiring, and it's obvious how many different types of roles that are active working with widening participation and access in the UK. In Sweden, we mainly have individuals at each respective higher education institution working with these issues on a more or less individual basis, or higher education institution. Central parts of higher education institutions, often on encouragement and due to work done by the student unions. So to see different types of networks, organizations, and people engaging in these issues here are really inspiring.
What do you see as a big difference between the UK and Sweden in this regard?
It's hard to say the difference when it comes to reality and to what extent you have problems with widening, with narrow participation, for example, or not, because I haven't seen any statistics yet. But of course, the situation in Sweden is of course different, since we have no tuition fees for national students. But my main impression so far is that we basically, to the extent that we discuss these issues in Sweden, most often on our initiative, is in the same ways, and there's the same issues that are being addressed, in mainly the same different types of aspects and problems, such as retention and also pedagogics, attitudes, culture within and without academia and such. So it's the same issues, but then they are being addressed in the same way, but in different extents.
All right, brilliant. Is there anything else, this is to wrap it up now, is there anything else you particularly want to say about this conference? Or?
I hope to go back tomorrow. We're here on a study visit to see how we can evolve the work with our similarity to FACE, which is a national network. So hopefully we'll be able to go back and take a lot of things with us in order to continue our work with these issues in Sweden.
Brilliant. Well, enjoy the rest of the summit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you tell us your name?
Yeah.
Where you work and what you do?
I can. I'm John Storen. My day job is at Continuum, which is a centre for widening participation policy studies at the University of East London, where I run a research centre. And in addition to that, I'm Director of Action and Access, which is one of the groups which is organising the conference we're at today.
Brilliant. So you're enjoying the summit then so far?
I am. I think the summit's a really great opportunity for everyone to get together once a year, share ideas, share practice, talk about the future, and really have a good sense going away from this of where things might go to in future. So it's a real way of people coming together and cooperating. It seems to me that one of the things we don't do as well as we should do is practice cooperation enough in this area. But by doing that, I think we're all enriched and our work improves as well.
Okay, brilliant. So with saying that, to you, is it addressing the current issues?
Yeah.
In access and widening participation?
Yeah. I think it is. The purpose of setting these summits up, which we did, 3 years ago now, was really to make sure that we shone a spotlight in this area. Now, governments come and go and they have different views all the time. But actually, the commitment to opening up higher education to more and different people is something that shouldn't be about any particular government. We need a consensus on this and we need to make sure that we do that. At one time in this country we had a debate about how many people should go to school. We don't have that debate anymore. We should think about that in relation to higher education.
Okay, good answer. So that's probably answered this question. So the big issue for you, what is the big issue?
The big issue, I think, is continuity in some ways, because we chop and change our policies in higher education far too much for my liking. You know, we've had some good things happen. Aim Higher is one of them. That's now gone. But the lesson from Aim Higher really is that we need to collaborate much more, and we need to connect up the food chain better in education, right away from preschools all the way through into employability. And I think that's one of the lessons we learned from that programme, and that shouldn't go away. Just because we take the funding away, we shouldn't forget the principles and the learning we've done when we had those policies. So I think we need a bit more continuity, a bit more consensus between governments, so we don't have this kind of knockabout policy in higher education.
Yeah, the continuity thing seems to keep cropping up.
I think that's really important.
Okay, that's great. Anything else you want to add to your...
No, I just want to thank everyone for coming today. I think it's a great opportunity to meet people, network, make new friends, meet new colleagues and so on. And there's been colleagues here from Sweden as well, which is great. The NUS have been present and involved, and I think that's all part of a healthy debate that we need to have about the future of higher education, where access is at the heart of that future.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you very much, John. It's fairly quick. So first of all, I'm going to ask you your name and where you work and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Paula Claxon. I work for King's College Student Union, and I am the Volunteering, Fundraising and Widening Participation Coordinator. So my main role is to work with student groups, so our society groups, in doing volunteering and fundraising, but most importantly and relevant today is working with student groups to do widening participation in terms of outreach work, so going into local schools, whether they be secondary, primary, to try and raise aspirations.
Okay, perfect. So it sounds like you're enjoying the summit.
I'm really liking it today. I think it's been really nice to meet with people who are like-minded to myself. Everyone's interested in kind of supporting fair access, but also retention as well. So making sure that once we've got students in at King's, that we can also support them throughout their whole student cycle and their whole student journey as well, which is really nice.
Retention seems to be the big issue of the day.
It is the big issue of the day. I think in the last few years we've been really successful in getting fair access, so now we've supported them in getting that far. We need to make sure that we continue our committal to them, and also make sure that we support them in success while they're at King's, but also when they're going to employment as well.
Yeah, it sounds like we're going in the right direction.
I hope so.
So this probably answers what you've just answered actually. Is it addressing the current issues in access and widening participation?
I think it's addressing what's important for students currently. So there's a lot in the media at the moment about graduate employment and how a lot of graduates sometimes take up to 2 years to get a job. So it's really important that we make sure that we make students recognise how important higher education is for an investment in yourself. So it's all about personal development, but also making yourself more skilled for the jobs that you want to go into, and making sure that students are fully prepared for working life, both academically and on a personal level.
So this is more of a personal one, about you professionally. What sort of do you like your job? don't you like about your job?
I think I've only recently graduated from university, and I felt that when I was at university I didn't get involved enough in my student union, and I think in terms of when you're looking to go to university you don't recognise quite what your student union can do for you. So now it's my opportunity for me to kind of give back what I should have done for myself when I was in education, but also make it better for those who are currently at uni and don't really know what their student union is about, and making sure that the voice of the student union is heard, and for them to recognise what skills that you can get from being part of a society, from being a president, from being part of NUS, etc., and all the other kind of roles that are offered to you while you're at university.
So just to wrap up, anything else you'd like to say before we go back into the conference?
I think what I really would like to say is that I know there's a lot of issues in the media at the moment about whether WP is tokenistic, and I think it puts a disheartening on people who work so hard to make the achievements what we do while we're here, and I think it's just really important for people to recognise that everybody has a right to go into higher education, everybody has the right to access, and so all those kind of media coverage is there. What we do is really important, and I think that everyone needs to remember that what we do is really worthwhile.
Okay. Enjoy the rest of the summit.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see you back here next year.
It definitely is worthwhile coming here.
Great.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Right. So first of all, can you tell us your name, where you work and what you do?
Yes, I'm Les Ebden. I'm the Director of Fair Access, and I am the Director of an office called the Office for Fair Access.
Great. Are you enjoying the summit so far?
Yes, very much. There's a very lively atmosphere, as you can probably hear in the background. People exchanging their experiences, sharing good practice. Very exciting meeting.
So what do you like about it so far? I mean, you've done a little bit of that already.
Well, what I really like is this is a meeting of practitioners, people at the coalfaces, as I put it, people are actually delivering on widening participation in their institutions. And of course, my whole job is about fair access and widening participation. So it's great for me to be here and to meet people who are actually doing it.
Right. So you would say that it's addressing the current issues in regards to widening participation?
Well, I think it is. It was good to have an official input from Universities UK on behalf of Vice-Chancellors. I hope people found my account of how things are developing with the national strategy helpful. But I think the whole series of workshops and the different position papers and views was very good. It enabled people to encounter a very large array of people who are really active and working in this area.
So this is more of a personal one for you. So what, to you, is the big issue today?
Well, obviously, for me, having just submitted to Ministers the National Strategy for Access and Student Success, it is actually saying to people, look, can't yet tell you what's in it, but we really need your partnership to deliver it. That's the important message for me.
A little sneak peek here.
Well, we gave some little sneak peeks, and I don't want to get into too much trouble.
No, that's absolutely fine. So, this is more of a personal one as well. I mean, professionally, what sort of delights you in your job, or what dismays you in your job? What holds you back?
Well, I mean, it's a very different job to being a Vice-Chancellor, which was my last job. Now I'm very much more in a position of influencing and asking other people to take action and to do things, and that's challenging to readjust yourself from having a position where you could ask for things to happen, and they did happen, to a job where you have to persuade people to do things and influence them in certain directions. So that's part of the frustration. Of course, the delight with the job is to know that it's such an important job. It's about transforming lives of people. It's about making this country more competitive economically, about the equality of opportunity and about social cohesion. These are key issues for us, and I'm delighted to have the job and be doing it.
Right, brilliant. Anything else you want to add to this? This is wrapping it up now, basically.
Well, I think Action on Access does a superb job for higher education. I really appreciate the way that it brings practitioners together. At Offer, we use the organisation a lot to interact with the community. If it didn't exist, it would have to be invented.
So we'll see you back here in 2014.
Look forward to that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Cheers.